Hey guys, it's Holly. All right, I want to share a story with you. I want to do it pretty quick. I got something else to go get to, and I know you're busy, but this is an awesome story, and I want you to hear it. So this is about God's faithfulness. I've been walking with my dear friend Kim. Well, my husband and I walk very closely with her and her husband, Kim and Anthony, and have for several years, like 5-6 years. And they have this big, beautiful family that God has stitched together. They had 3 children biologically. They adopted 3 children as sibling set from foster care. And then about 2 years ago, they fostered again and adopted a sweet little honey from foster care who has severe special needs. I mean, Kim and Anthony have laid down this hard yes and just said, God, here's our family. Will you just stitch it and create it however will bring you the most glory? And it's this big, beautiful, crazy, wonderful, chaotic, I'm sure Kim would say, family that just really does bring him so much glory. And so it's been an honor to walk all this with her and with Anthony. But I think I would be doing her and anybody else who's ever done foster care or adoption a great disservice, especially if you're parenting a child who's experienced trauma, whether it be foster care or just experiencing trauma. It's so hard. It can be so hard. All of their kiddos from foster care have experienced some sort of trauma, as it's very hard for a child to be in foster care and not have experienced trauma. But one daughter in particular has a very unique story and has been the victim of abuse and neglect. And it's caused a lot of trauma, and that trauma has manifested itself in some behaviors that are really hard to parent and in some mental thoughts and attitudes that are really hard to change. It's hard, without giving too much of her story away because it's hers. But I've walked with Kim in these places. My husband's walked with Anthony in these places, and we've just tried to pray and just tried to be there and just tried to laugh when we need to laugh and cry when we need to cry and just basically lock arms. So this daughter in particular that I'm talking about is polar opposite of Kim. They're both precious people, but they're just very different. And so it's hard for Kim to understand this one on the outset just because she is very different than Kim. And then also you couple and factor in the trauma of things, and then you factor in having other kiddos too. And it's just been a challenge. And there's been a lot, I think, on both sides of the relationship. You know, Kim is always very insecure in her bond with this child, and always kind of doubting, like, oh, am I doing enough? Am I reaching her? Am I creating a safe enough place for her to be her? And she just loves her so well. She loves all of them so well, but we've had so many, I can't tell you how many conversations we've just had about this little honey and about the fact that, you know, I don't know how many times I've said, God's not going to leave her here. God is not going to leave her here, you know, and just her mama just pouring her heart out over the hurt that this child has endured and the trust that she's trying to build with this little honey, and just, you know, will there be that mother-daughter relationship? Does she think of her as that mom? Is she who she wants when she's really hurting and when she's really upset, and, you know, and when she's done wrong and they're trying to disciple her and trying to point her to God and point her in the right direction? Is it getting through? And basically, I've just been walking with Kim and watching her take a couple steps forward and a lot of steps back. And it's been hard. It's been beautiful, but it's been hard. But about 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call, and it was Kim, and she was frantic, and she said they were rushing this little one to the hospital. She'd had this traumatic fall off the trampoline, just a freak accident. And long story short, this ended up being, I mean, she's still in recovery. She is home. She doesn't have full range of movement, and at this time she was completely paralyzed, like could not move, unresponsive, nonverbal. And so it was very scary for a few days, and now she's in a wheelchair though, and she still hasn't regained everything. We're not quite sure the prognosis, but anyway, the point being, this was a horrible, horrible event. And so a couple hours in, she's still nonverbal, but you can, you know, she's starting to regain a little movement in some limbs and some things like that. And we're praying, and we're rallying around this family. My husband's praying, my husband's texting Anthony, I'm at the house with the other kids. Like, we're just trying to love this family and praying for this little one. Well, she texted me and she said, oh my goodness, she opened her eyes. And I was right there. Of course, her mama was right there. And then she said, the first words she said were, Mom, Mom, I love you. That was the first thing that this little honey wanted to say when she finally could say something, was, Mom, I love you. And the first face that she saw was her mama's. And it just reminded me of all of those nights and all of those conversations that Kim and I had had, all of that doubt that was in that mama's heart, wondering, does she think of me that way? And am I doing enough? And all of that doubt that was probably in that little honey's heart is, you know, am I hers? Can I trust her? Will she be there? Was all sewed up so beautifully in the midst of this tragic, crazy thing. God was just giving them each just a little reassurance of saying, I stitched this together. I started this work. I will finish this work. You belong to one another. It's okay to love, and it's okay to be loved. And only He can do that. Only He can redeem, and only He can shore up these situations that seem impossible. And listen, maybe you're not fostering, and maybe you're not even a parent, maybe whatever, but you have something that God is asking of you that is hard. You have something that you think you can't make it through. You have something that seems insurmountable, and it is on your own. But boy, can He do immeasurably more than we could ever ask or imagine. I could have never written that moment to shore up Kim's heart or her little daughter's heart. Never that beautifully, but God did. So whatever you're going through, how many ever steps forward you're taking, and then you take multiple steps back, just know that if He started this good work, He will finish it. He will do it. He is so faithful. So faithful. I hope that encourages you today.